Hey everyone, this is Body Blueprint. Welcome to the very first video in our series, where we explore the incredible systems that make up the human body. I'm your host, and today we are going to flow through the circulatory system. First, we will introduce the circulatory system. Second, we will go over the parts and what makes it up. Third, we will go through the main functions. And lastly, look at some common problems and treatments. First and foremost, what is the circulatory system? Well, also known as the cardiovascular system, the circulatory system's job is to deliver oxygen and nutrients to all of the cells within the body via blood cells. The blood cells get to their final destination after going through the heart, arteries, veins, and capillaries. To begin, all blood has to be pumped through the heart that resides within the medial cavity of the thorax, known as the mediastinum, or the space in the chest between the lungs, sternum, and spine. Within the heart, there are pumping and receiving chambers, but note that we are looking at the heart from the front, so everything is opposite because we are talking in the human's perspective, so the left is on the right, and the right is on the left. The two chambers that occupy the top of the heart are known as the right atrium and left atrium. These are known as atria and are the receiving chambers of the heart. They receive blood from the body and lungs. They have small, thin walls and collect, store, and push blood to the ventricles. The left atrium specifically receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. This is done by 4 pulmonary veins that return the blood to the chamber. And this atria is slightly smaller than the right atrium due to thicker walls. The right atrium specifically receives deoxygenated blood from the body via the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus, but this atria is slightly bigger than the left atrium due to thinner walls. As I am guessing, you do not know what the vena cava or coronary sinus is. They are all veins, and the vena cava is addressed in 2 sections: the superior vena cava that drains blood from the upper extremities, like the head, neck, and upper chest, and the inferior vena cava that drains blood from the lower extremities like the abdomen and pelvic area, while the coronary sinus drains blood from myocardium, the cardiac/heart muscles. Going back to the atria, both atria have auricles, a commonly applied term used for the entire atrium, which is incorrect since they are different. Auricles sit on the exterior of their respective atria, and their purpose is to help the atria store and contract blood. They are easy to remember because they kind of look like floppy dog ears. The 2 chambers that occupy the bottom of the heart are known as the right ventricle and left ventricle. These are the pumping chambers of the heart. They make up most of the volume and receive blood from the atria so they can pump it to the rest of the body. The left ventricle specifically pumps oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. It also helps form the apex of the heart, which is the very tip of the organ. The right ventricle specifically pumps deoxygenated blood into the pulmonary artery. It also tends to be smaller and have thinner walls than the left ventricle. An easy way to remember what goes where. Remember that A becomes before V in the alphabet, so atria are on top and ventricles are on the bottom. There are 4 valves in the heart that separate each chamber to prevent backflow: the tricuspid valve, pulmonary valve, bicuspid valve, and aortic valve. Valves of the heart act like one-way doors that restrict blood flow into one direction, so blood cannot go backwards. They open during each heartbeat to let the blood move forward, and they are lined with endocardium, the innermost layer of the heart. The first of the valves is the tricuspid valve. It has 3 thin cusps, or leaflets, which are just flaps of tissue that give it its name. It is also called the right atrioventricular valve, and it is the first of the atrioventricular valves. They are named like this because of the way blood moves from the atria to the ventricular. This valve allows blood to flow from the right atrium to right ventricular. The second of the valves is the pulmonary valve. It is the first of the semilunar valves. They are named like this because of the way their flaps look like crescent moons. This valve connects the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery. The third of these valves is the bicuspid or mitral valve. It has 2 thin cusps, or leaflets, that give it its name. It is also called the left atrioventricular valve, and it is the second atrioventricular valve. This valve allows blood to flow from the left atrium to left ventricular. The last of these valves is the aortic valve. It is the second semilunar valve, and it connects the left ventricle to the aorta. Points of entry into the heart include the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, coronary sinus, and pulmonary veins. The exit points of the heart include the pulmonary artery and aorta. The aorta is a large cane-shaped vessel that delivers oxygen-rich blood to your body. It first connects to the left ventricle and extends through the abdomen and the chest. All along the aorta, blood vessels branch off that connect to organs and other tissue. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood away from the heart out of the right ventricle. This artery will split into two, so the left and right pulmonary artery will go into both sides of the lungs. The pulmonary veins carries oxygenated blood to the heart from the lungs. These veins are a set of two on each side that make up 4 veins in total that connect to the left atrium. And now that we covered all major parts of the heart, let us see if you can follow the blood pathway. First, deoxygenated blood comes from the superior or inferior vena cava, or the coronary sinus, into the right atrium. From there, the tricuspid valve will open up to let the blood move into the right ventricle. Once the blood gathers, the ventricle will pump the blood to the pulmonary artery and go through the pulmonary valve to be split into the left and right pulmonary artery so it can reach both sides of the lungs. When the blood circulates through the lungs, it will become oxygenated. This oxygenated blood will return to the heart via 4 pulmonary veins that connect to the left atrium. The blood then waits for the bicuspid valve to open so it can go into the left ventricle. The ventricle then pumps the blood to the aortic valve, and once the valve opens, the oxygenated blood will flood out to the aorta and be sent to all sorts of various parts of the body. And when the blood becomes deoxygenated again, the blood will be sent back to the heart to repeat the cycle. If the heart is the pump, then what brings blood to the cells in the body? Well, of course, it is your arteries that carry blood away from the heart. You can think A for away if that helps. Arteries usually carry oxygen-rich blood, with the exception of the pulmonary artery that carries oxygen-poor blood. They also get smaller and smaller as they get further from the heart. With that, there are 3 different types of arteries. First, you have the elastic arteries. They are the largest and thickest ones that are located near the heart. Second, you have the muscular arteries. These go to specific organs and are the most abundant in your body. Third, you have arterioles. These are the smallest and lead to capillary beds that transfer nutrients and oxygen to cells. If the arteries bring blood to the cells, then what brings the blood back to the heart? Well, of course, it is the veins that bring blood back to the heart. Veins are usually oxygen poor, but like the arteries, there is an exception with the pulmonary veins that carry oxygen-rich blood. Sort of like arteries, veins also get bigger and bigger as they approach the heart. Just like arteries, there are 3 different types of veins. First, superficial veins that are located just under the skin's surface, and they carry blood from outer tissue to deep veins. Second, deep veins run through muscles and carry most of the blood back to the heart. Third, you have venules. They are the smallest and lead to capillary beds, just like arterioles. And while we are talking about arteries and veins, the heart, like everything else in the body, needs its own supply of blood. So coronary arteries and coronary veins carry the same functions as ordinary ones, but for the heart itself. Specifically, coronary arteries are connected to the aorta and supply blood to heart muscles through capillaries. Like other arteries, they bring oxygen and nutrients like glucose. And coronary veins will bring the used deoxygenated blood straight to the right atrium, just like the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus, to go through the cycle to become oxygenated again. Capillaries themselves are the smallest blood vessel in the body. These are super important since they make direct contact with tissue to deliver oxygen to the cells and take carbon dioxide back to the lungs. As mentioned earlier, they come together to form capillary beds. There are 2 types: arterioles that connect from arteries and venules, that connect from veins. Just like the arteries and veins, there are 3 types of capillaries. First, you have continuous capillaries that are in skin and muscles, making them the most common. Second, there are fenestrated capillaries that are covered in pores to receive nutrients and hormones into the bloodstream. Third, there are sinusoid capillaries that are only found in the liver, bone marrow, spleen, and adrenal medulla, which is a part of your adrenal gland. You might not realize it, but blood is one of the main components of the entire body because it is the transporter of nutrients to your cells. In blood, you have plasma, which is the liquid portion, and makes up about 55% of the blood. There's some main types of cells in your blood that make up the other 45%. First, you have the red blood cells that do most of the transporting. Second, you have white blood cells who fight off the foreign bacteria. And lastly, there are platelets that help your blood clot, to help stop you from bleeding when there is damage. As we have mentioned throughout the video, the cardiovascular system, but mainly blood, has the utmost important job of delivering gases, nutrients, and hormones to cells in your body to maintain homeostasis and to activate different processes that keep you alive. But within the cardiovascular system, there are 2 main circuits that are happening. First, you have the pulmonary circuit that carries deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs for oxygenation, while the systemic circuit carries oxygenated blood from the heart to the rest of the body. One of the most common problems to happen in the cardiovascular system is atherosclerosis. This is the buildup of plaque in the arteries. Fats, cholesterols, and other substances will collect on the artery's wall, restricting blood flow. This plaque can harden and cause high blood pressure. The hardening is super dangerous because it can rupture and lead to a blood clot. Some early ways to prevent this would be a change of lifestyle, improving your diet, exercising frequently, and no smoking. If needed, you can take antiplatelets, which decrease the ability of platelets in the blood to stick together, or anticoagulants, also called blood thinners, decrease the ability for the blood to clot. These medications should help loosen plaque buildup so you don't need surgery. Another common disorder is arrhythmia or dysrhythmia. These terms are usually used interchangeably because they refer to abnormal heartbeat rates and rhythms. This is because dysrhythmia means abnormal or bad rhythm, which refers to a regular heartbeat, while arrhythmia means without or no rhythm, which refers to your heart beating too fast or too slow. These are both commonly treated with cardiac resynchronization therapy, which employs a pacemaker to restore heartbeat timing, or implantable cardioverter defibrillator treatment, which helps regulate the heartbeat by sending a shock, or defibrillation, to reset the rhythm. Now it is quiz time. Answer these 5 questions with the information you learned throughout the video. I believe you are now a pro on the circulatory system, and you have all the tools to go 5 for 5, but you will only have 5 seconds, so good luck. Question number 1. What makes up most of the content in blood? Correct answer is B. Question number 2. What is the difference between dysrhythmia and arrhythmia? Correct answer is B. Question number 3. Which of the circulatory systems return oxygen-rich blood? Correct answer is A. Question number 4. Which of these are part of the semilunar valves? Correct answer is D. Question number 5. What does the pulmonary artery do? Correct answer is B. If you found this video helpful and informative, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Body Blueprint for more fascinating insights into human anatomy. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand your body, the better you can take care of it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the wonders of your body.